Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what ruined religion for you? Going to a megashuk. They received over 1 million donations every weekend and spent it on elaborate props and videos rather than helping the community in any meaningful way. There's a megashuk outside of Tampa that has a fucking Starbucks in it. It's what the baby Jesus would have wanted. I was taken to a megashuk once for a Christmas thing, and the very first thing I saw upon entering was a life-size bronze statue of the pastor. All I could think was, isn't this a false idol? Do they decapitate it and make a new head every time the pastor changes? Or do they buy a whole new statue? If you read the Bible, Jesus trashed a temple for being the base of loan sharks. I think he'd go full domestic terrorist against megashuks. He absolutely would. When I was 6 years old, the pastor gave a letter to my aunt to give to my mom saying that we were not donating enough money to the church. So we stopped going, and I have never been to church since. Something like this happened to my friend's grandma. The church wrote her a letter basically saying they knew how much money she was making and that she should be giving more to the church. Her response was, "Screw you guys, I'm moving to Mexico." Honestly, the balls on these churches. That pastor was lucky she didn't go full Martin Luther and nail a letter of her own to the church door. Still, good for her. Just nail the pastor's note to the door. Being kicked out of Christian school prior to the 3rd grade because my mom bought the wrong edition of the Bible. There are more than one editions of the Bible. Take your pick. The Bibles. Religious people. Only God has the right to judge, yet religious people are the most judgmental people you can meet. Anybody who has a different view to them. Also, if you've ever been to a church, they all gossip about each other. Talk about not practicing what you preach. My mom was a church organist / choir director for a long time, and I got to know a lot of the members and other employees. Some of the fakest people I've ever met. The gossip was insane, and the backstabbing among the staff was as bad or worse. So many times someone tried to throw my mom under the bus. Fortunately, my dad also did some work for them, saw right through all their bullshit and stuck up for her. Being told that being sexually abused as a child was a good thing, as God needed to teach me a lesson on hubris and ego. I should accept it as a lesson and be better so I wouldn't fall into the clutches of the devil. I was 7. Apparently I was asking for it. Same. My aunt said I was asking for it as a 5-year-old. Edit, wow. Thank you all for your support. I blamed myself my whole childhood. So, I'm thankful Reddit can help cheer me up. Tears up. Your aunt sounds like a piece of shit. The non-answers to all my questions as a kid. You just have to have faith is a dumb way to respond to an inquisitive mind. When I was a kid, I asked my grandmother where God came from, and she smacked me across the face and said, "We don't ask questions like that." I was just being honestly curious because I wanted to understand, and her reaction shocked me. That's where it all started for me. Feo. I asked my pastor how you reconcile a human-centric creation theory with hundreds of millions of years of non-human life. Was God just screwing around making dinosaurs and massive ecologies as a warm-up before humans? Pastor said he believed in the pan theory when it came to that. Excited, I asked what that was. Live for Jesus and everything else will pan out. Lol. She probably knew if she thought about it too hard then it wouldn't make sense to her either. I worked at a restaurant near a church on Sundays. Rudest bunch of people ever. Some people believe that being religious makes them better than non-religious. When I left the church I was persona non grata, none of the members will even look at me now. Oh well. There is this really popular Christian radio station my parents listened to when I was younger, and when the hosts were talking about some Christian gathering they referred to non-believers as icky people. I was so annoyed. At the time I was still religious and kept thinking, what if someone who did believe was checking this out for the first time? I am very much not religious now, but back then it really opened my eye to how shitty people were. Oh fucking God, I used to bus tables at a seafood place all the Catholics liked to eat at for lunch on Sundays. Tables of 10 plus not tipping or leaving a $5 tip on the entire bill, kids throwing food all over the place, melted butter spilled on 2 tabletops and seats. Fucking religious pamphlets left in the bathroom sinks or left on the table in lieu of a cash tip. The absolute fucking worst were the ones printed to look like a $20 or $100 bill on the outside. Literally the skeeviest fucking dive bar in town has a better customer base than most after-church Sunday lunch joints. Here's money for all your hard work. Oh wait, it's a condescending Bible verse instead. Get fucked. Religious leaders ruined religion for me. I never met a single priest who could tell me about heaven, but they all knew every square inch of hell. They built it. When the pastor started ranting about the evils of women, saying that Satan walks among us in the body of every female and men must take measures against them. It was later enforced in my mind when I met his very timid granddaughter in high school. She fully believed she was cursed from birth and showed serious signs of abuse. It didn't make me think all Christians are evil, but it showed me how easily a religion led by humans can be warped. That theme has been shown to me too many times now to get behind the idea of any formal religion. For me it was when everyone found out tons of priests were fucking little kids and the church protected them instead of punishing them and reporting it to the police. The newest Jimmy Savile documentary, on Netflix, describes how he would abuse girls in the Catholic Church on the pews. Listening to that woman explain how one of the main things she remembers is looking at the back of everyone's heads while he had his hand in her mouth and his hands down her pants. People don't want to cause a scene in church, so badly that they will let a 6-year-old be abused in the middle of service, right behind them / in front of them / beside them on the pews. And NOONE helped her. Disgusting religion. Religion, and particularly Catholics, are susceptible to this. Is a way for bad people to ignore their sins. Jimmy Savile's words said at his funeral, "I really do hope that God forgives sinners. I don't trust super religious people. My sister is religious, but it is her own personal belief and she is part of a church that doesn't baptize before 18, is cool with gay / trans, and focuses mostly on charity work. It's part of how she keeps herself sane after the abuse we went through as kids, and that church helped her get out from under our mother. So not all churches, but I am distrusting of anyone who is super in your face about religion. Good people do not need to prove really hard that they are good people. I feel similar at people who are super in your face about how they work for a non-profit, or how they are such a feminist. Being a good person is proved by actions, not words. My mother. She instilled some serious shame into me under the guise of God. Some things she said. Not allowed to believe in Santa because that takes credit away from God. Santa was actually a hand of Satan trying to corrupt me. Not allowed to believe in the Easter Bunny because it was also a hand of Satan trying to corrupt me away from Jesus. I wasn't allowed to feel pride in my accomplishments because it's a sin. I was a dickhead because my dad got me fully vaccinated as a child and that is against God's plan. Hollywood is operated by Satan, so I wasn't allowed to watch movies or shows, especially Disney. Harry Potter was an absolute no because witchcraft is an affront to God. Scientists should not be trusted under any circumstances. My rare genetic condition was part of God's plan and I'd understand someday. Not allowed to say damn because it's an affront to God. Etc. That combined with her regular, not religious abuse has left me struggling a lot with my religiosity. My favorite part about the first one, that is Santa's technically a saint. I'm making an assumption here, but the flavor of Christianity described here seems likely to be one of the ones that considers Catholics evil. So being saint would be a knock against Santa, not for. It sounds similar to what I was raised to believe but not to that extreme. I think some people go overboard. It quickly became evident that many people who call themselves religious only do so to feel morally superior to others around them, and then use that superiority to try to control everything they can. I like to say that Jesus was a carpenter, who gave his followers a hammer to build with. They took the hammer and started hitting other people with it. People using it to justify their hate. People using it to justify everything. Mayo. That's the magic of faith. Have a good reason for believing something. Just use some good old faith to justify literally any position you'd like. I was 15. My father had been diagnosed with ALS. I had gone to a youth group thing with a Christian friend of mine and they had a circle of teenagers going around talking about things going on in their lives and relating it to God. When it was my turn, I shared that my father was dying and I didn't understand why. I was angry and I said something along the lines of I doubted there was a God if this was happening. Basically a normal thing to say when you're young and you have a sick relative. I got chewed out for even questioning God and the rest of the kids refused to talk to me the rest of the night, including my friend. You would think I had killed someone, it was that strong of a reaction. Also, my brother became a huge born-again Christian later on in life and tried to push his beliefs on us hard. We got told we were going to hell and my then boyfriend, now husband, and I got chewed out for living in sin. Editing this because I didn't expect this comment to get much attention, but thank you everyone for all of the supportive comments. A few things to add because I keep seeing them below and will do my best to try to answer, but youth group happened close to 20 years ago. I was actually brought up Catholic and went to church weekly. I stopped going when my dad got sick and he couldn't go anymore so that my mom could continue to go. She needed the hour or so break and I wanted some one-on-one time with my dad. We took care of him at home for the majority of his illness. Church also meant more to her than it did to me, but towards the end she stopped going too. I was drawn to youth group because I was curious what Christianity was like and my friend had painted it as a supportive place. We didn't have youth groups at my church. I also thought questioning God was more or less normal. I wasn't a jerk about it either. I was very introverted and hated confrontation. I just wanted some kind of conversation and these kids seemed like they were strong in their faith. Looking back, I guess I wished I could find comfort in religion. My brother became born again after my grandmother passed in 2012. The majority of his jerkishes happened over the next 3 to 4 years until he switched to a different church. He mellowed out a bit and me, my mother and my other brother, finally came to an understanding that if we wanted a relationship we wouldn't discuss his religion. I get the occasional "you should come to my church," but that's nothing compared to what he used to say. I also tolerate it for my mom, because all she has left is us. I'm not going to start arguments or refuse to go to holidays. She's been through enough. I also know that my brother is not a bad person, he just goes 100% into whatever he's currently into, and religion wasn't any different. I'm 34. Female. I don't go to church. I'm not religious. Married a guy who leans towards being an atheist. This all happened a while ago and again, I really appreciate all the supportive comments and messages. You guys are good humans. My brother-in-law did the same thing after abandoning a child. Couldn't stop talking about God and about how everyone around him is a sinner, when he was doing meth and beating women and child. Now he has triplets with another methed out girl who already had a kid where they also beat each other. His whole shtick is being a real alpha man and his life is so pathetically ruined because I don't wear condoms. They don't feel good, fucking loser. Thanks, stories like this always remind me I'm not as bad as I think. LMAO.